Bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, folks. See, I keep telling you guys, and you guys don't listen, but I keep telling you guys, this is exactly why we are the greatest football podcast in the world. Because you know why? Just as I was getting ready to finish editing and put out the previous episode, guess what happens? Bam! Budda Baker gets paid. Kirk Cousins gets benched. All the crazy things happen either when I'm recording, when I'm done recording, or when I'm about to record. It happens every time. I'm just saying, just trying to make a connection there. Coincidence? I think not. But as I just said, Budda Baker gets paid. Kirk Cousins gets benched. Michael Penix is in. Okay, we have to talk about the ins and outs of that, all the financials and whatnot. Broncos versus Chargers preview tonight. Texans and Chiefs. And Steelers and Ravens on Saturday. We got a loaded episode. We got a loaded weekend, a pre-Christmas gift for all the football junkies in the world, okay? Because you know why? We got football on Saturday starting at 11 o'clock. Okay, and then we got football on Sunday. Then you got football on Monday. Then you got football on Wednesday. It's just a whole bunch of football just everywhere, okay? But this is the 56th episode of the Football Junkies podcast, okay? I am your host with the most, okay? I'm your chief bagrodamus. I am your chief head of the table, all things related to football from mock drafts, which we'll be talking about fairly soon. Just you wait. Still looking at some all 22 footage from a few people, okay? Just giving you a heads up, okay? As well as everything related to the bag alerts and money related to football, okay? But guess what? I am all these things and more, but I am your GM who currently is not on a team right now, but don't you worry about it, okay? Don't you worry your little head, my fellow football junkie, because guess what? The most important thing that you must remember is I am your host, KO. You already know how these episodes go. You already know how these intros go. So guess what? On 3, 1, 2, 3, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. Okay, so yes, we got football on Saturday, but before we get to that, we got football tonight. But before we get to that, we got to talk about the bag alert, the surprise bag alert, if we can be honest here. Okay, so Budda Baker, safety for the Cardinals, inked a 3-year, $54 million extension to stay with them, folks. $30 million guaranteed, and he will be making $18 million a year, okay? Now, when we look at his stats this year so far, 142 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3 pass deflections. When you probably read these stats and when you probably look at his stats, you're probably thinking, they pay $18 million for that? Listen, Budda Baker is someone who has been loyal to the team through and through, okay? He's been with them when they were tanking. He's been with them when they're winning, like how they're winning now. He's been through it all, okay? And what better way to reward a player who has been loyal to the organization through and through, who was supposed to be a free agent after this season, but now with this deal, of course, he's now locked in, and most likely he will retire a Cardinal. So all in all, it's a great situation, okay? Because similar to the Garrett Bowles situation, you had somebody who was looking for a new deal and had no problem hitting free agency next year at all. And so both of those teams realized the impact that they play on their teams, not just on the field, but also off the field, in the locker room, in practice, every aspect of the team. They play a major role in it. And what better way to reward those type of players than to make them, a Bronco as well as a Cardinal for life. And so all in all, it's a really good situation because, again, the Cardinals are winning right now. The Cardinals are going to continue to be a problem if they hit on their next draft as well as their free agency class. If they hit on both of those things, This team is going to be way more competitive than that one year when they had AJ Green and D Hop and JJ Watt and company. So all in all, congratulations to Budda Baker. You're probably going to be a Cardinal for life. Now, let's get into a more spicier situation I think everybody has been talking about since the news is broke. And that is the Atlanta Falcons have benched Kirk Cousins. Yes, that's right, Kirko, Big Kirko. The person that they just gave $100 million to in free agency. Now, before we get into all the business side of everything, let's just read the statement and then we'll get into all the business side and performance side and everything associated with that. So this is the official statement from head coach Raheem Morris. This is basically what he says. And I quote, "After review, we have made the decision. Michael Penix Jr. will be the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback moving forward. This was a football decision. We are fully focused on preparing the team for Sunday's game against the New York Giants." End I quote. Very short, sweet, and to the point quote. But let's just be real here. I think they realized that they reached for Kirk Cousins. And the reason why I say that is because since week 10, Kirk Cousins has only thrown for 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions. That is 17 consecutive quarters without a passing touchdown, according to Next Gen Stats. Shout out to them. That's not good. That's not good at all. They were thinking that when they were going to get Kirk Cousins, they were going to get the same Kirk Cousins that the Vikings had all those years. Well, newsflash here, folks. The reason why you're not getting that person is because, for one, you have now a defensive-minded head coach, and we've all seen that defensive-minded coaches do not adequately address the offense as much as they do the defense. Kirk Cousins was in a situation with the Vikings where you had a two-headed monster in both Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. You had TJ Hawkinson. You had Dalvin Cook for those few years. You had a complete offense. Not saying that the Falcons aren't, but when you compare the talent-wise, the Vikings have more talent on their offense than they do with the Falcons. That's just what it is. When we look at everything, I think the Falcons did not expect for them to be where they are right now. Because right now, the Buccaneers are 8-6. The Buccaneers right now are in the driver's seat to win this division. The Falcons are 7-7, as I just said. Now, when we look at the Falcons' schedule, the remaining games that they have to go up against the Giants, Commanders, and Panthers. The Giants, that's a steamroll. But those last 2 games, those are 2 games you're going to have to fight. This is what I will say, though. This is an opportunity to see exactly what do they have in Michael Penix. Because Michael Penix is sort of like Bo Nix, a quarterback who has a lot of experience, has a high ceiling, and can definitely change the franchise, okay? But I wonder what made Raheem Morris want to make this change now. Because prior to this move, he was reassuring everyone and saying that Kirk Cousins was going to be the quarterback. So what exactly transpired from when he made his last statement to this statement? Because granted, I understand that, yes, you guys did pay a lot of money to get Kirk Cousins. Yes, he was paid to be the franchise quarterback. Yes, he was supposed to be, the bridge quarterback until Michael Penix is basically ready to take things over. But at the same time, though, you're not about to make this move if you haven't thought about either releasing him, trading him, or just completely just getting rid of him altogether. You just haven't. Like, really think about this. They just paid Kirk Cousins $100+ million this offseason. And now they're just going to get rid of him after just 1 season? Come on now. Not to mention, they probably have thought about, maybe he would have a trade market. Maybe that could help us out in the long run. Because again, as I've said before and I will continue to say, this quarterback draft class is not good. It is not solid. And right now, there's not a lot of quarterbacks that you can flat out say, oh, that can be my franchise quarterback. Oh, that's a quarterback that I can develop. Oh, that's a quarterback that in the right situation, we might be able to bring the best out of him. Because a lot of the quarterbacks realize, listen, my draft value right now is not where I want it to be. So let me just go back for another year, build it back up, and let's try this thing again. Because as of right now, the only two quarterbacks that everyone is, head over heels for is Cam Ward and Shador. That's it. Quinn Ewers, that's a question mark. And even then, the question mark is only going to get either bigger or smaller within the college playoffs. If he puts on a clinic in the playoffs and win it all, hey, you just put yourself in the first round category, sir. But if you don't, if you are a one and done, well, then that's it. Then you already know that, guess what? Most likely you're going to be drafted either in the second, third, fourth, or fifth round. That's just what it is. I'm just being honest with you guys. And then not to mention, there are multiple teams that need a quarterback. 49ers, I would not be surprised if they would entertain going after Kirk Cousins. Because remember, the Kyle Shanahan connection with Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins was in Washington when Kyle Shanahan was on the Washington staff. I'm just putting out connections here. That's just what I do. I'm just saying. Because right now, with all of the leaks coming out, probably from Brock Purdy's camp, alluding that he wants to reset the market, or he wants to get close to resetting the market, is something that if I'm John Lynch, would not want to entertain. Because you know why? I've already done it for all the other players. I done it for Nick Bosa. I done it for Trent Williams. I done did it for the receivers. I done did it with this person. I done did it with that person. I done did it for everybody. I'm tired of resetting the market, and I'm not holding up a Lombardi trophy. And if I'm being real here, if they feel like they can maybe do one more shot at this thing to win a Super Bowl, I think why not give Kirk Cousins a chance? You have a veteran quarterback. He probably would be fantastic in that situation. And most likely, you probably wouldn't have to give up a whole lot just to get him. Now, granted, if you want to try to negate taking on all that money, then most likely you will have to give a first round pick just to justify everything. Just so you don't have to take on, the remaining part of this contract, but instead just take on probably his guarantees, which happens to not be a whole lot. Just saying. Shoot, even the Giants. If you feel like there is another position that you want to draft high on, or if you feel like you've already addressed, your other positions in free agency, and you feel like maybe you would prefer to get a veteran quarterback than a rookie quarterback, then okay, cool. Make that move. But as of right now, there's probably a few teams that would be interested at going after someone like a Kirk Cousins. But who knows? But just know this. You heard it here first on Who? The Football Junkies podcast. Now, let's get into the Broncos and Chargers game tonight, because I believe this is going to be a dynamic game, okay? It's a divisional game, so you already know how I feel about divisional games. So guess what? Let's just get into the meat and potatoes of the Junkie Nuggets, okay? So the Broncos are 1-5 against teams who are above 500 and 8-0 against teams that are 500 or worse. On top of this, all right, the Broncos have generated the second highest pressure rate at 38.6%, while blitzing quarterbacks at the second highest rate at 38.4%. Since week 15, Lat McConkey leads the Chargers with 63 receptions and 873 receiving yards. The Chargers have the 12th highest pressure rate at 38.1%, which is the single highest percentage since 2018, which was 38.3%. Now, when we look at all of these junkie nuggets and whatnot, expect the Broncos to blitz heavy against Justin Herbert. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it, all four downs, but there is a good chance that this Broncos defense is going to try to go after Justin Herbert. Nick Benito is starting to look like a top 20, maybe top 15 pass rusher. The defense for the Broncos has been going off recently. And if I am a team that is in the playoffs already, case in point the Steelers, possibly, that has to go up against the Broncos, that's a tough matchup, okay? That's not a team that you can just look over because, they don't have this person or that person, or they don't have a star player in this position, that position. No, this team is going to be a problem for other high-seeded teams in the playoffs because this defense is playing with house money. That offense, they're playing with house money, okay? Bo Nix has been doing his thing, and I think people have not been talking about it as much. But Bo Nix right now, to me, I feel like is probably the rookie of the year. Just saying. But when we shift things over to the Chargers, though, I want to see exactly how are they going to try to attack this Broncos offense. Because we know that the Broncos pass rush is going to try to go after Justin Herbert. And I want to see exactly how will they be able to adjust to the different types of blitzes and schemes that the Broncos are going to try to throw at them. As well as how are they going to be able to use Ladd McConkey? How are they going to be able to use J.K. Dobbins? I want to see exactly what will the Chargers offense do when they have to go up against a divisional team like the Broncos, who right now have been playing lights out. They've been holding their own with some of the best teams. And granted, I understand that, they've probably been looked over, but this isn't a team you can look over. They got everything right. If they hit on their next draft and on free agency, I guarantee you they will be able to compete against the Chiefs. I am willing to die on that hill today. Now, my expectations for this game, it's probably not going to be super high scoring. It's probably going to be very low in the mid-20s. I sound like a meteorologist right now, but I'm not trying to, so forgive me about it. But most divisional games, they're not going to be super high scoring. It's going to be low. We already know that this game has major playoff implications. So you already know this game is going to be good. Now, let's focus on the Texans and Chiefs because this one is a bit more interesting, okay? So, since 2018, the Chiefs average 5 yards per play without Patrick Mahomes compared to 6.3 yards per play with him on the field. The Texans have the third highest pressure rate in the league at 38.2%, and one of the teams who have multiple defenders who are generating 50 or more pressures. The Chiefs have won 50 consecutive one-possession games, including the playoffs, and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are the only teammate duo in the league with at least 10 sacks each. Now, if it was me personally, if I'm Andy Reid, I probably would not start Patrick Mahomes this game. I wouldn't. I would rest him, let him just, rest his ankle, put Carson Wentz in, see what you have with Carson Wentz, see if he still has it. If he doesn't, okay, cool. You know what you have to do once the season is over with. But right now, you need to rest Patrick Mahomes because next week you have to go up against the Steelers. And you know that is going to be a major game. You know that game has major implications to it when it comes to the seeding. Not saying that this one doesn't, but I feel like that one is a little bit more than this game right here. Now, when we look at it for the Texans, though, the Texans defense is a defense that not a lot of people are talking about. But that duo of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter is like Shaq and Kobe in the early 2000s. Dominant. That's the best way to put it. And you know what? I truly believe Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are going to go off in this game. Because you know why? When you have two tackles that always want to get off super early, yes, I'm talking to you, Chiefs fans, because you guys all know it. Jawan Taylor and that other tackle, they are getting off super early, and no one is calling about it, and no one is saying anything about it, but they need to say something about it. They're going to be chopped cheese. They're going to be Jamaican beef patties and cocoa bread to Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Because you know why? That team has been able to generate a lot of pressure. They have been able to close the pocket and go after the quarterback. And I think this is the game where they should be able to do it the most. Now, for the Chiefs, I think things are a little bit more complicated for them because you're still waiting for Hollywood to get back. Mahomes just got injured, so you want to try to have him rested and prepared for the remaining schedule. However, news just broke recently. I just checked my notifications because my phone's been going off for like the past 30 seconds or whatever. I just checked it. Patrick Mahomes will be playing against the Texans. That has been confirmed by Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes will be playing. On one hand, I understand the move because they realize that right now the number one seed is still up in the air. The Buffalo Bills could still get it. Other teams could still sneak in and get the number one seed. So they want to make sure that they lock that number one seed up. most likely they'll probably rest, all their starters after they face the Steelers. So, and the best for last, the Steelers and the Ravens. And we have some breaking news, okay? George Pickens and Justin Fields have been ruled out for the game, and TJ Watt is off injury designation. So let's just get into everything. So as of right now, we have seen that this offense, of course, is not as effective, is not as dominant or spectacular without George Pickens. And now that George Pickens is out, I don't know how things are going to go, but I don't know. This is I wasn't expecting this. I'm going to be honest with you. This is my real reaction. Like I am reacting in real time about this because I would have thought that George Pickens would have been able to play because from all the clips that I've seen, he's been, running routes, he's been doing the exercises, and things look pretty good. Now, you could definitely tell that he does have a hamstring strain because you can see that one of his legs is just like, it looks like it may be a little bit painful for him to do it, but dang. So then that means Kyle Allen is now going to be the backup quarterback for Russell Wilson. Oh, man. Oof. This game, this is a gauntlet. When I keep telling y'all that this was a gauntlet, this is exactly what I mean. This is a gauntlet, folks. But let's just get into these junkie notes, though. Lamar is 1-4 against the Steelers with a 66.2 passer rating. Derrick Henry is second in both yards before contact, at 478, and second in yards after contact at 993. He's only trailing behind Saquon Barkley. The Steelers' defense has allowed 5.6 yards per carry, which is 2 more full yards per carry, when Cam Hayward is off the field compared to when he is on the field, which is only 3.4 yards per carry. And in the last 2 starts, Russell Wilson has only averaged 143 passing yards per game without George Pickens. But in his first 6 starts with George Pickens, he averaged 271 passing yards per game. Now, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent and a little bit of a rant, but I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to save that for last. But this is what I will say, though. This makes this game even more important because George Pickens is out. Most likely, there may be a few other people that are going to be out. So that means Arthur Smith has to come up with a better game plan because what he came up with against the Eagles was not good enough. And granted, we saw some creativity, and with that creativity, guess what happened? You got a first down and more. So you have to continue to try to do something different because right now what we are seeing is a play caller who is a little bit inconsistent. He'll have 3 or 4 drives where he's creating some really good plays, and they're productive and putting points on the board and whatnot. And then next thing you know, he's reverting back to things that aren't as successful, and then we're just stagnant. That's not how you want things to go, especially with this game, because if we win this game, we lock up the division. And what better way to lock up the division than against your division rivals home? That's the best way to do it. So you have to get in your bag. I'm talking about not at the top part of the bag. You got to get in the bag. I'm talking about at the bottom where that little hole is in the bag. You got to go deep and you got to scoop, and you have to come up with some better game plan because right now George Pickens isn't probably going to come back until either the Chiefs game or the Bengals game. So you have to prepare for that. Start using Mike Williams more. Start using Pat Freiermuth more. Start using the people that you have currently in a more creative way. And I guarantee you, you can still be a little bit more effective, without George Pickens. You can do it. But the only way that you do this is if you are able to scheme things up better. The Eagles knew, most likely they're going to run the ball since George Pickens is not going to be playing. And so guess what they did? They loaded up the box. They loaded up that defensive line and say, guess what? Try it. I dare you. Try it. And that's exactly what happened. So we have to be better with this game. And then not to mention, Then you got to prepare for the Chiefs. Man, Omar, you might want to try to go and get OBJ. Just saying. But this is my little bit of a rant here because I've been arguing with some people on Twitter, because Steelers fans can be a little bit delusional sometimes, and that's okay, For those who don't know, yes, I do have a Twitter, GM Kale, okay, GM Kale or at Sir Football Junk, okay. I have been arguing with a lot of people on Twitter because everyone has been saying that, Omar messed us up. He put us in a bad situation. We got to get rid of Omar. The wide receiver position. Oh, it's over. But I keep telling people, listen, every GM has whiffed on a position of need. You name the GM, and most likely when you look at their track record, they have whiffed on something. This is Omar's first whiff. And it's okay. It happens. But we can't say that, it's the end of the world because we didn't go and we didn't get a receiver. Sure, he tried to rewrite his wrongs by getting Mike Williams. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And most likely, I wouldn't be surprised if we tried to get OBJ after this game. I just wouldn't. And that's okay. But what you cannot do is just flat out just say that Omar Khan is a bad GM when literally he's cleaned up the books. He's hit on his draft picks. He's hit on his free agency signings. What more do you want? If Omar Khan was any other team's GM, they would be head over heels for this guy. They would be like, yo, this dude is great. But when it comes to Steelers fans, no. We are now in a situation where we can now have cap flexibility, when we are no longer strapped, when it comes to the cap space. That's amazing. We can finally actually do something. And why? Omar Khan had to do that. Omar Khan had to fix the offensive line. He had to fix the quarterback position. He had to fix other positions. We are still a work in progress, folks. It's going to take time before our Super Bowl window opens. So until that time happens, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. Look outside, take a few pictures, do whatever, okay? And even for people that are talking about the draft for next year, everyone is saying that receiver is our number one priority in the draft. No, it is not. The receiver class is not that good. Outside of Luther Burden, the receiver from Arizona, I'm sorry I cannot think of your name right now, but it's not meant to be disrespectful. Isaiah Bond, Savion Williams, Emeka Ibuka, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name as well. There's not as many, wide receivers that you can be like, man, that's a first round receiver right there. No, you might as well just want to go in free agency and get one, because why? There's going to be multiple veteran receivers who are looking to win. You're going to have Keenan Allen. You're going to have Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, D-Hop, Mike Williams. You're going to have a plethora of different receivers that you can go after. Hell, you could even go for a big fish and try to get T. Higgins from the Bengals. I'm just saying here, Steelers fans, we have to be a little bit more patient. I understand that at that time, the move that they made was, controversial. I get all that. But we have to relax. And I'm going to end my rant here. I'm going to end this episode here. If you guys like what you're listening, please like, share, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. Whatever you do with this podcast, okay, on any and every place that you can listen to the Football Junkies podcast. Now, for my podcast people, make sure that you download the episode so I can give you guys the fix that you guys need, want, and desire. Make sure you guys leave a comment. Make sure you guys leave a 5-star review. For my YouTube people, Football Junkies Pod, okay? Football Junkies Pod. When you go on the YouTube, you click on the link tree. It'll take you anywhere and everywhere we have Football Junkies content, okay? Now, for my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod, okay? Football Junkies Pod. Clips. I know. Work with me, I'll work with you, okay? Now, for my Instagram people, Football_Junkies Pod, okay? Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced. It is together, not spaced. football_junkies pod. Okay, junkies pod is together, not space. As always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. As you probably have heard in my voice, I am a little bit tired. So I have decided that I will be taking a break until the new year. So until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's. Thank you guys so much for being on this ride with me. You know, if you would have told me that I would have started a podcast in March and, you know, we would be close to almost 60 episodes in, I would have called you a liar. But we did it. We did it. We were close to the 60 episode, you know, mark this year. But you know, I got a little bit tired, and I'm tired right now. I'm not gonna hold you. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of a break. And you know, when we come back, we're gonna be better than ever, refreshed, ready to talk about some hot takes and some truth bombs and maybe some bag alerts. And who knows, maybe the Steelers might be on their way to the Super Bowl. Who knows? But as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys don't know how much you guys mean to me on this journey of, you know, starting the Football Junkies podcast. But bigger and better things are going to happen next year. Just you wait. It'll all pay off. You know, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Happy New Year's. Peace and love. Kale, signing out.